Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, wonderful.
yes. How are you?
Doing well. Technology is working here. It's a great day.
Yes. Welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2025, Richard.
I'm sorry?
Welcome to the Global Virtual Summit 2025.
Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to be here.
Before proceeding to your presentation, I want to introduce you to our audience.
Great.
Richard helps corporate professionals integrate their inner wisdom with effective leadership, drawing on over 40 years of corporate experience and 3 decades of spiritual practice. He guides purpose driven individuals in applying spiritual principles like grace, authenticity, and inner peace within their professional lives. Richard's work supports spiritual seekers in navigating the corporate world with intention and meaning. He emphasizes that a career can be a profound spiritual journey. Through his guidance, clients learn to bring their whole selves to work and lead with purpose. That was really an inspiring bio, Richard, and the stage is all yours.
Oh, that was all wonderful to share that. And thank you, Melinda. It is such a delight and an honor to be here with everyone today. I'm truly looking forward to this. When when I was approached not long ago to present here, I looked through some of the WIN conferences and the themes that were going on, and I saw one that was about spirituality with a theme of harmony within, unity beyond. And I knew that's what I needed to talk to about on this conference today. And that is, I'm calling it the corporate sage. It is looking at and seeing and reframing your entire corporate career through a spiritual lens as your spiritual path, that it is your spiritual path. And as it's coming going through your spiritual path, this corporate sage, the wise woman that you are, starts coming through that naturally. And I'm going to talk about this journey and a path through the presentation here. And I've got so much to share and so little time. So I'm going to go through this quick. But before I tell a little bit about my own story and my journey, let's just talk about some people chatting here. Hi, Richard. Hello. Nice to see everyone. Uh, a little bit about the corporate world. I heard some previous presenters talk about the corporate world out there, and it is a challenging world these days. Some of the statistics here, you may have seen this from Gallup organization. Only 31% of employees consider themselves being engaged at work, really enjoying what they're doing. And 17% are actively disengaged. That is, they're unhappy and they're spreading negativity in the workplace. Many speakers before me have spoken about the burnout that you're experiencing, toxic cultures, chronic stress in today's the acronym is VUCA world. That is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And I don't know about you, I've been just seems like things are moving at an even faster and faster pace nowadays. It's overwhelming to try and keep up. And now, even more so with AI, which has its positives and its negatives. And on the horizon out there is quantum computing that everyone's starting to talk about. Now, I'm not here to bash companies because I am so grateful for the corporate career that I've had. And companies are doing the best that they can. They have a charter whose mission is to maximize stakeholder value. That's the bottom line. And they need to many times make very, very hard decisions in all of that. But there is a way to now see and reframe your corporate career is your spiritual path. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about my own journey here. I'm calling this the pathless heartache calling, which many of you might end up relating to, and the spiritual path, which has an inner journey, which is a journey in to your own divinity and real self, expressed outwardly in the spiritual outer journey, where you're then expressing that inner calling out into the world. And I'm going to bring grace into this, as you'll see, and expressing that fully as your authentic, and I'll call heart soul leadership journey here. So a little bit about myself. One, I started out as an engineer. I've had a 40 plus year journey in the corporate world as a global business leader. My background is computer science. I have an engineering systems thinking like mindset, and moved on in my career in the IT career path, moving up into IT project program management, portfolio management, moving into business leadership and setting strategy, HR manager, line cost owner. And I experienced so many of the things that many going through the corporate career are dealing with, as we mentioned, burnout, chronic stress, unrealistic deadlines, all those kinds of things. The greatest joy was my volunteer part of my career, where I was co-leading global coaching communities for 2 different companies, where we grew those communities from 5 people to over 5,000. And so it wasn't my day job, but it was the most fulfilling part of my career. But also HR manager was very fulfilling, because that's where I got to help people who work for me take themselves to their next best level. So by day, I've had a 40-year career. By night, I've had a 30 plus year spiritual journey and practice here. And I say, it seems the spiritual path found me. I didn't find it. There's always been a part of me that's looking for deeper meaning in life. I went through a 4-year energy healing school called the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, a 4-year core energetics program, which is a body-centered somatic type of therapy, coach training. I've been on vision quests, spiritual and religious retreats, deep meditation practice, and the last 8 years with a one-on-one spiritual advisor who really changed all of my perspective quite a bit, tying everything together. I'm not your typical engineer, if you will, because I would tell people by day, I do this corporate business kind of stuff. And by night, I would see people as a healer and other kinds of modalities doing what I would call woo stuff. And it took my spiritual director to tell me and say to me, you've got quite a split there. Here's one side, but spirituality is about wholeness and unity, and you're splitting the two. And I wasn't seeing the two as one together here, my business and spiritual life. And that's what called me to a new perspective of seeing. It might have been a heartache, if you will, because I felt myself walking through the corporate hallways, feeling all this intensity and people under stress and myself under stress, thinking there's got to be a better way. How do I bring this spirituality into the corporate world? And it was painful, if you will, but there was a way to unify them. And that's what I'm really all about right now. So let me talk about what is spirituality and being a spiritual seeker. Really, if you will, spirituality is your direct connection to the divine within. There's an analogy where you might think of God is this infinite cosmic ocean of everything. And we are like the individual waves rippling on that ocean. And spirituality is about your connection of the wave to the ocean and allowing the qualities of the ocean, especially around inner peace, to infuse you as a wave. And it's the path that might be a lifelong path to achieving that. And it's exploring the deepest purpose and meaning in life. Yes, we have a life purpose and meaning in our jobs and our families and our career, but it's even deeper in that, the deeper meaning in life, to living from your real self. And knowing that spirituality means knowing your essence and the understanding experience of that. The spiritual journey is the process of allowing God, the ocean, to live its life and essence through you as the wave. And a spiritual seeker. Who is a spiritual seeker? It is someone, like probably most everyone here, who has a deep inner calling, a calling for deep inner meaning. And maybe you've found yourself as a lifelong learner and someone who's introspective, reading every self-help book out there and buying it, and going to every religious or spiritual retreat. Maybe you've got a therapist or a coach helping you through here, but you're always looking to grow yourself at a deeper level than most people might be doing out there. And more than anything, at least it was for me, there's a deep inner disconnect, especially that there's got to be a better way, and a clawing at your heart that you can't stop. I know I couldn't help myself from buying that next best book out there, that of a spiritual teacher out there, or going on a meditation retreat. I just couldn't stop. Something kept drawing me closer, further, and that further is the spiritual path calling me, calling you. It's God within calling us. So let's talk about a little bit about the spiritual path here. And this is coming to going to an inner journey of who are you really? It is the deepest mystical question that mystics have been asking for millennia, and your true identity and purpose. And the first level of it is you are the living answer to who you are. How you live your life today, your beliefs, your position, your family, every aspect of you already answers the question to who you are. And then there's a deeper next level of your spiritual identity, deeper beyond who you are as a person. And Genesis 1 talks about this, and paraphrased, it says, we are born in the image and likeness of God. We have, every one of us has a spark of divinity born already within us. It might be covered with numerous layers of things, but it's already who we are. And Matthew 1:5-14 says it very clearly. Ye are the light of the world. You are the light. And as a unique wave on the ocean, you also have your own nature. Of all the billions and billions of people in the world who have been, who are, and who will still come, every one of you is unique and different from each other. You have your own unique nature of talents, strengths, gifts, etc. And infused with the light, that's your real self. And it might be a lifetime journey to your real self, but that's the spiritual journey, coming to who you truly and really are. I don't know about you, but when I think about that and sit with that in silence, it brings goosebumps that we are loved by the divine that much. And our spiritual purpose, our deepest spiritual purpose, as a puppy's purpose is to be a dog, and an acorn's purpose is to be an oak tree. Your deepest spiritual purpose is to be whole and fully integrate the light into who you truly are. That's our true full potential, and is the reality of what can be achieved on the spiritual journey here. It's why we're on the spiritual journey in the spiritual world. Atelier de Chardin says, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So on the spiritual journey, there's a number of tools, and I want to call them filters to inner peace that you're going to go through, and perspectives of how you view the world. And some call this the divine feminine spiritual path. They are surrender, faith, patience, and acceptance. And I want to say right up front, there's not a corporate action plan that you can put in place where I'm going to take action to grow and develop each one of these qualities within myself. It's what I'm going to call a pathless path that I'll talk about in a little bit. But real quick, surrender is letting go of control over what we can't change. The serenity prayer says this perfectly. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And St. Augustine says, work as though everything depends on me, on you. So you're not going to be passive and not take action. And pray as though everything depends on God. The outcome is up to God. We are not, and I am not in control of my life, ultimately in the bigger term. And faith. Faith is trusting the challenges that come to our way truly are coming to me at a higher purpose. And this faith can really be challenging and hard. Can I truly believe that some of the most difficult things that might be occurring to me truly are for my ultimate good, for a higher reason? And the affirmation, life happens for me, not to me. And the next is filter or perspective is patience. And that's accepting that accepting divine timing occurs in all things. Sometimes things are just going to happen and I can't make it to happen any faster. Or it's said in Ecclesiastes 3:1, everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. And sometimes I just need to tolerate the difficulty and the challenges as long as they're occurring, which brings us to the last filter of acceptance. And that is releasing the resistance to what's occurring, turning over to God and accepting that God had given what's occurring for a certain reason. I might not like it, but I accept it. And my response is, okay, God, as you wish. So in all of these, in surrender, you're trying as hard as you can, turning the outcome to God. Now you have faith that there's a higher purpose for everything occurring, and the patience to endure what's occurring, and and accepting what is occurring, which leads to all of these together, a deeper level of inner peace, being the center of peace in the middle of the storm. And as I said, there's not a path that I can work to make this happen. It's a side effect of the pathless path. But what's important in all of these is spiritual practices. Spiritual practices are sort of like the spiritual training wheels for you, if you will. Yes, A Course in Miracles is extraordinary work and brings all this together, if you will, in your spiritual journey. The first one is commitment to your spiritual practices, because they will all, and these are powerful ones in front of you that I've got. They will all keep you focused on God or source and the experience of God within as you're going through hard, difficult things. And the first one is meditation. Even if you can only meditate for 5 minutes, meditation will allow for the peace of God's presence. That is inner peace to permeate your being. And keep it simple. There are complex meditations out there, but keep it simple. Focus on the name of divinity or a name for God that works for you, and just let your mind soften in that deep presence, even if it's only for 5 minutes. And you're going to forget and come back to it and keep coming back to it. Prayer. Prayer is your personal directed thought that creates a relationship with God. Every prayer does this. If it might be a prayer that you have in your religion or spirituality, but it's to God for something. Or maybe you're praying for the health of someone who's ill in your life, or something in your own life, or prayer for peace in the world. It's still a prayer to God that creates a relationship and a connection. Next is contemplation. That's the process of allowing Scripture to become alive in your consciousness. And when I talk about Scripture, I'm talking about writings that have been written by a saint, sage, master, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever it will, something of a higher order spiritual vibration. And when you read it, it touches your heart, such as the consciousness of those who wrote it affects you at a very, very deep level. It's not like you're reading a novel really quickly here. You're allowing deep scripture to affect you at a very deep way, and then maybe even journaling that contemplation, that scripture. And the last is selfless service. And really, this is about helping others as a spiritual practice. Practicing what's we call servant leadership, or being in service to others without expecting anything in return. And in the corporate world, there's so many different places to be in service to everyone you're around you. As I was been a manager, it's helping my employees to be the best that they can possibly be, coaching them. So spiritual practices are really important. But the missing ingredient is one that I'm going to talk about in the Pathless Path, that's grace. Grace is the key ingredient in all of this. And I love this quote by Joseph Campbell. If you can see the path laid out in front of you step by step, you know it's not your path. Your path is only your path you make with every step you take. And sometimes I add to this quote, and sometimes the path only shows up in mid-step as we're falling, hoping it catches us, right? Because sometimes hard things are going to come to us. So grace, the definition that I've seen, many definitions I've seen, this is my favorite. It's the experience of the divine presence or inner peace in our lives. Grace is God's grace leads us to the exact events and experience we need at the right time for our spiritual growth. So this is not a path that you plan out, but those qualities of surrender, faith, patience, acceptance, compassion, love are qualities that grow in you through grace naturally as grace brings to you events and experiences in your life. And what's important is the grace pot here is the container of it is made of your spiritual practices. And everything will grow the more committed you are to your spiritual practices, so that the qualities in the pot grow as a side effect. So when your boss comes with you with an unrealistic expectation, you can recognize this and make a choice. Oh, this is coming to me. You're disguised as grace, coming to me as my life for me to grow and react in peace and love rather than in a harsh way and a different kind of way. This is coming to me for my growth through God's love, through grace. Grace has that effect in our life. And there's a poem by St. John of the Cross that says this in such a beautiful way. I love this. Once I said to God, "How do you teach us?" And he replied, "If you were playing chess with someone who had infinite power and infinite knowledge and wanted to make you a master of the game, where would all the chess pieces be at every moment? Indeed, not only where he wanted them to be, but where all were best for your development." And that is every situation of your life. And the choice that you have to recognize all these situations are coming to you actually for your own spiritual development and growth. It still might not be easy, but it's grace if you are on a conscious spiritual journey and path to recognize them and see them in a different way. So the wise woman authentic spiritual journey is led by grace. And a quick story for myself here. I can tell you, working in a corporate career, I had a big, massive IT project that I was working on and a pretty intense deadline. And the deadline was coming quick, and this project was not working well whatsoever. And I was under a lot of executive pressure. At the same time, I was going to an energy healing school, and it was time for me to go for a week long of training. Not a good time to be going, but I need to go anyway. And at the beginning of the school training week, when we were sharing what's going on at the beginning of the week, I shared, I'm terrified. I'm terrified that my job is at stake here. I might not be able to attend class all week. This project has to be successful, or I might lose my job. I don't know what to do, and I've got so much writing on this. At the end of the week, I did need to work some during that week and not attend class, but I did attend class another. At the end of the week, the small class teachers said to me, you were not passing your skills. We're going to give you a letter for not passing your skills, but actually you did pass your skills, but we have to give you the letter anyway. And the reason why we were giving you the letter and you weren't passing your skills is, in order to pass skills, you need to embracing the terror within in order for you to do energy healing at higher vibrational levels. But at the beginning of the week, we witnessed you in the middle of terror, and you held that terror all the week. So you really did pass. And lo and behold, how could I have imagined things happen so perfectly that terror in my corporate job would help me pass awakening skills? That's how sometimes this happens here. And on my 30-year conscious spiritual journey, I have to acknowledge and see I've not been in control of the path. The path has been leading me, and I found opportunities where I've been more intuitive. In my corporate career, sometimes I have had difficult customer negotiations where all of a sudden a calm presence just seems to embody everybody, or an intuitive business solution comes through that didn't come, like, where did that come from? Or all of a sudden a critical executive mentor showed up for me to help me out in a difficult career decision that I needed to make. And the spiritual integration started naturally coming through in what I call divine essence embodiment of my real self and the pathless path. Something just started happening. Yes, I still feel terror, but it only happens for short moments. And then I come out of it to be seeing, oh, that's what's happening. And that is your authentic, real, true leadership. It's not a skill or technique, but the spiritual path will bring you to your real self, working through all the things that you really, truly are going to bring you connected to your inner self and your real self, leading with grace. And so I want to leave you here saying that, you might have challenging things, a boss with unrealistic expectations, and you've got trauma and so many other things, a business case that needs to be done within 2 hours, and I write customer who wants immediate results yesterday, and initially you're going to react in a lot of fear like I did, but the pathless path is going to start embodying you more and more. And so I really want to leave you with, your corporate career is your spiritual path. And an actions for you is, if anything, commit to one spiritual practice daily and have that lead your life, because your spiritual practice, even if it's for 5 minutes, are going to show how committed you are to the spiritual path and be the foundation for you. So that as a spiritual seeker, you're on the path, and the corporate sage will now start coming out through you. The wise woman that you are in your profession is already your path. And I want to say, as you lead from your heart, be the light in the corporate world that you truly are, because that's the path for you. And the journey to authentic leadership begins with your spiritual practices. The more committed I was to my spiritual practices, not just every other day, but every single day, it started unfolding for me through grace. So harmony within, unity beyond. And I am so delighted, and it's been such an honor for me to be here with you. And I am deeply and profoundly honored to support you in any way that I can through my website, LinkedIn, email me in whatever way I could be in service. And Melinda, I'll turn it over to you if there's any questions.
Yes, Richard, thank you for your valuable time. That was an informative session, and we have a few questions from our audience, Richard.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to ask you one. How do you fuel spiritual coaching with global IT leadership to drive meaningful business transformation?
Oh, that's a great question because that's where I've lived. And boy, I will tell you, the spiritual path and the spiritual journey is a more challenging journey. At one level, the business results that you need are pretty hard and and all of that. But what's underneath it is the spiritual journey that I really found along the way that my life was really about. So the spiritual challenges and the business results are at a surface level. The spiritual challenge is at the true level. And you're going to be guided along the spiritual journey around business results. Sometimes they're not going to work out, and sometimes they are. And can I trust the divine in me? Faith. This is really causing me to surrender, work as hard as I can, but to surrender the results to God and have faith that this is ultimately in service for me for my higher spiritual direction to grow faith, that this is truly my spiritual growth, and have patience. I talked about surrender, faith, patience, and acceptance. Sometimes it doesn't work. And maybe I might even be fired. And that almost happened to me. I thought I was going to be fired. I got a 3 rating one time in my career. But as I started deepening and understanding the real purpose for me is my spiritual development and growth, and to grow those qualities in me and to start deepening my meditation practice. I started strengthening my spiritual practices and trusting and allowing. And all of a sudden, wisdom started coming or intuition started coming that I never could have expected. That God is really in control. And even if I got fired, it's all about having the faith that all is for my spiritual growth, which at the end of my life is what is really more important. And the way that I know that my spiritual growth is happening is that every year I started to feel an inner peace and calm, start embodying my presence more and more and more. And yes, sometimes I would fall off the spiritual peace wagon, but it would only last for a couple of minutes before I got back in and to recognize, oh, this is what I'm about. But because what's here now is my corporate career, my corporate career is my spiritual path that's coming to teach me all those qualities through grace that I just talked about. And it brought up all the terror in me because I thought I was going to be fired and I'm raising a family and all those other things. But there's something under the covers, under the wave, that's really at stake here. And that's who I am as a spiritual being and the growth that happens around that. I hope that was a long answer, and I hope that helped answer that question.
Yes, the way you explained everything was much appreciated, Richard. Thank you so much for answering, and thank you so much for your valuable time, Richard.
It has been such an honor and a blessing to be with you.
Yes, we are very honored. And please be on the backstage and please join the next session, Richard.
I most definitely will. Have a
Yes.
great day, everyone.
Bye bye.